Hello there, and welcome to Sleep Philosopher. I'm so glad you've found your way to this quiet space tonight. Come, settle in, and make yourself comfortable. This is a place where we take the grandest, most complex questions of existence and allow them to unravel slowly, like a single thread from an old, well-worn tapestry. Tonight, I want to lead you through the corridors of theoretical physics, not as a lecture, but as a meditation. We aren't here to solve the universe or master its math. We are here to simply sit within its mystery, side by side, until the weight of your own world begins to lift. As the lights dim and your thoughts soften, let's explore the beautiful paradoxes that make reality so much more wondrous and much more forgiving than it seems. Now, take a slow, deep breath and let us begin. The light in the room has grown thin, and the world outside has begun to retreat into the soft velvet shadows of the late hours. As you settle into this space, feel the weight of your body against the surface beneath you, a physical anchor in a world that, as we will soon discover, is far less solid than it appears. Before we begin our journey through the corridors of theoretical physics, we must first address the state of the mind. Throughout the day, your consciousness acts as an architect, constantly building structures of logic, schedules, and expectations. It seeks patterns in the noise and order in the chaos. This is a survival mechanism, a way to navigate a reality that demands constant attention. But this architecture can become heavy. The static of the day, the unfinished conversations, the digital flickers, the weight of the future collects like dust in the corners of your thoughts. To find true rest, to achieve a cognitive reset that goes beyond mere sleep, we must give the analytical mind a problem it cannot solve. We must lead it to the gateway of the paradox. A paradox is not merely a riddle or a clever play on words. In the realm of theoretical physics, a paradox is a profound signal. It is a place where our most cherished maps of reality encounter a terrain they cannot describe. Imagine a map of a great forest, detailed and precise, until you reach a specific grove where the compass spins aimlessly and the paths fold back upon themselves in ways that defy geometry. This is the paradox. It represents a collision between two truths that both claim absolute authority yet cannot coexist within the framework of our current understanding. When we contemplate these knots in the fabric of the universe, something remarkable happens to the human brain. The prefrontal cortex, that tireless engine of logic, attempts to grasp the ungraspable. It pulls at the threads of the impossible, trying to untie the knot until eventually it tires. It realizes that the tools of everyday logic are insufficient for the task. In that moment of intellectual surrender, the analytical mind lets go. The grip of the ego loosens, and you are allowed to drift into a state of profound, meditative receptivity. Think of your consciousness as a vessel moving across the surface of a deep, dark ocean. During the day, you are focused on the waves, the wind, and the direction of the current. But as we enter this gateway, we are going to dive beneath the surface. Down here, the rules of the surface no longer apply. The light from above fades into a soft bioluminescent glow, and the pressures of the world are replaced by a weightless, all-encompassing embrace. We are moving toward the fundamental architecture of existence, a place where time, space, and identity become fluid. Scientists and philosophers have stood at this threshold for centuries, peering into the dark and finding that the more they learn, the more mysterious the view becomes. They found that at the very edges of our knowledge, at the heart of black holes, at the dawn of the Big Bang, and and within the microscopic vibration of a single atom, reality begins to stutter. It begins to whisper secrets that sound like nonsense to the waking mind, but like music to the subconscious. Consider the nature of a mirror that reflects another mirror. As you stand between them, you see an infinite corridor of yourselves stretching into a distance that has no end. Where does the original you stop and the reflection begin? If the reflections are perfect, is there any physical difference between the one who breathes and the thousand who mimic the breath? This is a simple visual paradox, but it hints at a deeper, unsettling truth. Our senses tell us that we are separate from the world, that we are observers looking out through the windows of our eyes at an objective reality. Yet, the deeper we go into physics, the more we find that the observer and the observed are inextricably linked. The universe is not a stage upon which we perform. It is a grand, participatory event. By engaging with these mind-bending concepts, you are participating in the cosmic dialogue. You are allowing your mind to expand to the scale of galaxies and contract to the size of a subatomic particle. In this introductory stage, we are preparing the ground for 15 explorations of the impossible. We will encounter moments where time runs backward, where objects exist in two places at once, and where the very history of the universe depends on whether or not someone was there to see it. We will speak of cats that are neither dead nor alive until a gaze fixes them in reality, and of stars so heavy they swallow light and information alike, leaving behind only a ghostly thermal radiation. These ideas are provocative, yes, some might even call them eerie or unsettling, for they challenge the very foundation of what we believe to be true. But within that eeriness lies a strange comfort. If the universe is so much vaster and more mysterious than our daily worries, then those worries are, by definition, small. They are temporary flickers in an infinite field of energy and potential. As you listen to the steady rhythm of this exploration, do not feel the need to understand every equation or every nuance of the theory. This is not a classroom where you will be tested. Instead, treat these words like a slow-moving river. Some ideas will float past you, barely touching the surface of your awareness. Others might snag on a branch of your curiosity, lingering for a moment before the current pulls them away. Both are acceptable. The goal is the journey itself, the movement from the frantic known to the tranquil unknown. This is the cognitive reset. It is the process of clearing away the debris of the mundane by replacing it with the majesty of the cosmic. We are replacing the how of your daily life with the why of existence itself. There is a certain poetry in the fact that the human brain, a 3-pound organ of water and fat, can even conceive of the curvature of space-time or the death of a star billions of light years away. We are a part of the universe that has developed the ability to look back at itself and wonder. This wondering is a form of deep relaxation. It is a return to a primordial state of awe, a state we often lose as we grow older and more burdened by the mechanics of living. Tonight we are reclaiming that awe. We are standing at the gateway of the paradox and choosing to step through. We are choosing to believe that the impossibility of a concept is not a wall, but a door. Take a long, slow breath now. Feel the air enter your lungs, a mixture of nitrogen and oxygen that has been cycled through the atmosphere for eons. The very atoms you are breathing may have once been part of a distant nebula or the heart of a primordial sun. You are physically connected to the history of the cosmos. As you exhale, imagine releasing the need for certainty. Release the need for things to make sense in the way they usually do. In the chapters to come, we will explore the limits of logic and the beauty of the absurd. We will see that reality is not a rigid structure, but a vibrant, shimmering tessellation of possibilities. The gateway is now open. The transition from the world of the ordinary to the world of the theoretical is complete. Your mind is ready to receive the strange, the beautiful, and the paradoxical. We are leaving behind the shore of the familiar and heading into the deep water. There is nothing you need to do, nowhere you need to go, and no problem you need to solve. The universe is unfolding as it always has, governed by laws that are both elegant and incomprehensible. As we move into our first specific paradox, let the sound of the words be a guide, a steady pulse in the darkness, leading you further away from the noise of the world and closer to the silent, infinite heart of reality. We begin with the concept of time, not as a clock on a wall, but as a dimension that can be manipulated, stretched, and folded. We begin with a story of two brothers, a journey to the stars, and the unsettling truth that now is a word with no universal meaning. Let us drift toward the stars and consider the strange fate of the twins who defied the calendar. This is the first step in our 3-hour descent into the architecture of the impossible. Stay here in this calm, liminal space. The reset has begun. The static is fading. The silence of the cosmos is waiting to welcome you. There is so much to see in the dark, and all of it is designed to bring you peace. Let the journey begin. Imagine, if you will, two lives that begin as perfect mirrors of one another. Two individuals born at the same moment, sharing the same genetic blueprint, their hearts beating in a rhythmic synchronicity that seems to defy the chaos of the world. In our common understanding of reality, these two individuals are bound by the steady, unrelenting march of the calendar. We are taught from a very young age that time is a universal constant, a grand, invisible river that flows at the same speed for everyone, everywhere. We believe that a second on a mountaintop is the same as a second in a valley, and that the ticking of a clock is an objective truth that binds the entire cosmos together. But as we step further into the realm of special relativity, we find that this perceived certainty is nothing more than a local illusion, a byproduct of the relatively slow speeds at which we conduct our daily lives. To truly understand the nature of existence, we must look at the story of the twins, a narrative that challenges our most fundamental intuition about what it means to grow old. Let us place these two identical souls on a quiet, starlit evening. One twin chooses to remain on the firm, familiar ground of Earth, watching the seasons turn and the stars drift slowly across the sky. The other twin climbs into a vessel of unimaginable technology, a craft capable of accelerating to speeds that approach the ultimate limit of the universe, the speed of light. As the engines ignite and the ship streaks away from the solar system, a profound split occurs in the fabric of their shared reality. To the twin on Earth, the ship appears to be a dart of silver, moving with incredible velocity toward a distant star. But to the twin inside the ship, the experience is strangely mundane. They feel no different. Their pulse remains steady, their thoughts move at their usual pace, and the clock on the wall of the cabin ticks with the same familiar rhythm it always has. They are not moving through time in any way that feels unusual to their own senses. However, the universe operates on a principle that is both elegant and deeply unsettling. This principle, discovered by Albert Einstein, suggests that the speed of light is the only true constant in the cosmos. For light to always travel at the same speed, regardless of how fast the observer is moving, something else has to give. That something is time itself. This is the concept of time dilation. a stretching of the temporal fabric that occurs whenever an object moves through space. The faster you move through the 3 dimensions of space, the slower you must move through the 4th dimension of time. It is as if the universe has a limited budget for total motion, and if you spend too much of that budget on velocity, you have less remaining for the passage of your own duration. As the traveling twin pushes deeper into the void, reaching perhaps 90% of the speed of light, the discrepancy between their 2 worlds begins to widen. For every tick of the clock on the spaceship, several ticks pass on the clocks of Earth. The traveling twin might look through a theoretical telescope back at their home planet and see the world spinning in a frantic, accelerated blur. They would see civilizations rise and fall, forests grow and wither, and the very face of the planet change in what feels like a matter of weeks. Meanwhile, the twin on Earth, looking up at the receding ship, would see their sibling moving in a ghostly, agonizingly slow motion. They would see a single blink of the traveler's eyes, taking days or weeks to complete. This is where the heart of the paradox begins to beat. In the framework of relativity, there is no such thing as an absolute state of rest. If the twin on Earth sees the ship moving away, the twin on the ship is equally justified in saying that it is the Earth that is moving away from them. From the perspective of the traveler, they are the ones standing still, while the Earth and the entire solar system are hurtling into the distance at nearly the speed of light. Logic would then suggest that the traveler should see the earthbound twin as the one who is aging more slowly. If motion is truly relative, who is actually younger? When the traveler finally turns the ship around, decelerates and returns to the embrace of Earth's gravity, which twin will be greeted by a version of themselves that has withered under the weight of decades. The resolution of this knot lies in the hidden asymmetry of their journeys. While velocity is relative, acceleration is not. The twin on Earth remained in a single, consistent frame of reference, anchored by the steady pull of their home planet. The traveling twin, however, had to undergo a massive physical transformation. They had to accelerate to those incredible speeds, and more importantly, they had to turn around. That act of turning the deceleration and the subsequent reacceleration toward home shatters the symmetry of the experiment. During that pivot point in the deep silence of space, the traveling twin shifts from one frame of space-time to another. In that transition, the now of the traveler undergoes a radical realignment with the now of the Earth. When the traveler finally touches down and the hatch of the craft opens, the world they find is not the one they left behind. They might have been away for what felt like only a year of their life, but they step out into a world where 50 or 60 years have vanished. They find their sibling, once their perfect mirror, now an elder with silver hair and a lifetime of memories that the traveler never shared. The traveler is still young, their skin smooth, their heart still beating with the vigor of the youth they possessed when they departed. They have, in a very real sense, traveled into the future. They have bypassed the steady decay of the material world by simply moving through the geometry of space. Consider the profound existential weight of this truth. We often feel that we are prisoners of the present moment, chained to a specific point in time that moves forward at a rate we cannot control. We feel the pressure of the minutes slipping through our fingers, the anxiety of deadlines, and the fear of the inevitable end. But the twin paradox teaches us that time is not a solid wall. It is a fluid, a medium that can be navigated. If time can be stretched and squeezed, if it can pass at different rates for different people, based simply on how they move, then the urgency of our lives is a fabrication of our limited perspective. The universe does not demand that we move at a certain pace. It does not have a master clock that judges our progress. As you lie there, listening to the silence of your own room, realize that you are also a traveler. Even as you remain still, you are moving through space on a planet that is rotating at over 1,000 miles per hour, orbiting a sun at 67,000 miles per hour, and hurtling through a galaxy that is itself dancing through the void. Your time is dilating in tiny microscopic increments right now. The GPS satellites orbiting high above the Earth experience time slightly faster than you do because they are further from the mass of the planet, and slightly slower because they are moving so fast. Engineers must actually calibrate the clocks on those satellites to account for these relativistic effects, or the navigation on your phone would fail by miles every single day. The paradox is not a fantasy. It is a functional reality of the world you inhabit. Let this realization act as a cognitive reset. The stress of your day is built on the assumption that time is a rigid, unforgiving ruler. But if the twin paradox proves anything, it is that reality is far more flexible and forgiving than we imagine. Your past, your present, and your future are not separate rooms with locked doors. They are part of a singular, four-dimensional landscape. In this landscape, there is no correct speed at which to live. There is only the experience of the interval. By contemplating the twins, you are giving your mind permission to step outside the frantic ticking of the clock. You are allowing yourself to exist in a state of temporal grace, where the distance between a second and a century is merely a matter of perspective. Take a moment to reflect on the traveling twin, standing on the deck of their ship, looking out at the cold, beautiful light of distant suns. In that silence, they are not rushing. They are not worried about the time they are losing or gaining. They are simply being suspended in a pocket of space-time that belongs only to them. You can claim that same stillness for yourself. You do not need a starship to find a frame of reference where your worries lose their power. You only need to recognize that the fabric of reality is soft. It is a quilt that can be folded. As we prepare to leave the story of the twins behind, let the image of their reunion linger in your mind, the young traveler and the aged sibling holding hands, two halves of a whole that the universe treated differently. It is a reminder that we are all part of a grand, mysterious experiment, and that our understanding of the world is only ever a glimpse of the truth. The river of time is deep and full of eddies and currents we are only beginning to map. But for tonight, you do not need to be the navigator. You can simply be the water. You can let the current take you, knowing that now is wherever you happen to be, and that forever is just a different way of looking at a single moment. The ship has returned to the hangar. The echoes of the engines have faded into the quiet hum of the earth. The twins are at rest. We have untied the first knot of our journey, and in doing so, we have loosened the tension in our own thoughts. But as we have seen, the laws of the universe do not just stretch time, they also protect it. If we can move forward into the future by traveling fast, could we also move backward into the past? Or is there a sentinel at the gates of history, preventing us from unmaking the world that created us? We move now from the stretching of time to the breaking of it, as we contemplate the dark circular logic of the ancestor who must be protected. We move from the twins to the grandfather, and the paradox of the origin. Stay in this weightless state, for the journey into the impossible is only just beginning. The shadows in the room have deepened, and as we drift away from the stretching of time and the story of the twins, we find ourselves approaching a much darker, much more rigid barrier. While special relativity allows us to lean into the future, effectively skipping over the years like a stone across a pond, the prospect of turning around and heading into the past presents a knot that logic seems unable to untie. This brings us to the threshold of the grandfather paradox, perhaps the most famous and haunting thought experiment in the history of temporal physics. It is a concept that challenges the very idea of causality, the simple, comforting belief that every effect must have a cause, and that the past is a solid foundation upon which the present is built. As you relax further into the stillness of the night, consider the past not as a memory, but as a physical destination, a place where the air might smell of old rain and the light might have a different, antique quality. But imagine, too, that this destination is protected by a law of logic so profound that it may be the only thing keeping the universe from dissolving into static. To understand the grandfather paradox, we must imagine a traveler who is not content with the future. This traveler seeks to return to a time before their own birth, perhaps to a quiet afternoon decades ago. In this thought experiment, the traveler finds the house where their grandfather lived as a young man, long before he ever met the traveler's grandmother. In the harshest version of this logic puzzle, the traveler performs an act that prevents the grandfather from ever having children. Perhaps it is a simple distraction, a conversation that makes the young man miss a train, or a more dramatic intervention. Regardless of the method, the result is a catastrophic break in the sequence of events. If the grandfather never has children, then the traveler's parent is never born. If the parent is never born, the traveler themselves never comes into existence. And here is where the circle closes with a terrifying snap. If the traveler does not exist, they can never grow up to build a time machine, and they can never travel back to that quiet afternoon to interfere with their grandfather's life. This creates a logical loop with no beginning and no end. It is a hiccup in the mind of the universe. If you succeed, you fail. If you fail, you succeed. The waking mind finds this exhausting to contemplate, as it relies on a linear progression of if-then statements. But as you enter this state of deep relaxation, try to view this loop not as a problem to be solved, but as a form of cosmic architecture. Scientists have wrestled with this for generations, wondering if the universe has a chronology protection conjecture, a set of laws that makes time travel to the past physically impossible simply because the universe refuses to allow a contradiction. It is as if reality has a self-healing mechanism, a way of smoothing. To understand the grandfather paradox, we must imagine a traveler who is not content with the future. This traveler seeks to return to a time before their own birth, perhaps to a quiet afternoon decades ago. In this thought experiment, the traveler finds the house where their grandfather lived as a young man, long before he ever met the traveler's grandmother. In the harshest version of this logic puzzle, the traveler performs an act that prevents the grandfather from ever having children. Perhaps it is a simple distraction, a conversation that makes the young man miss a train, or a more dramatic intervention. Regardless of the method, the result is a catastrophic break in the sequence of events. If the grandfather never has children, then the traveler's parent is never born. If the parent is never born, the traveler themselves never comes into existence. And here is where the circle closes with a terrifying snap. If the traveler does not exist, they can never grow up to build a time machine, and they can never travel back to that quiet afternoon to interfere with their grandfather's life. This creates a logical loop with no beginning and no end. It is a hiccup in the mind of the universe. If you succeed, you fail. If you fail, you succeed. The waking mind finds this exhausting to contemplate, as it relies on a linear progression of if-then statements. But as you enter this state of deep relaxation, try to view this loop not as a problem to be solved, but as a form of cosmic architecture. Scientists have wrestled with this for generations, wondering if the universe has a chronology protection conjecture, a set of laws that makes time travel to the past physically impossible simply because the universe refuses to allow a contradiction. It is as if reality has a self-healing mechanism, a way of smoothing. There are several ways physicists try to resolve this tension, and each one offers a different, beautiful way to view your own life and history. One possibility is the Novikov self-consistency principle. This theory suggests that while you might be able to travel to the past, you are strictly forbidden from changing anything in a way that creates a paradox. In this view, time is a single unchangeable tapestry. If you went back to that afternoon to stop your grandfather, you would find that your very presence was already a part of history. Perhaps the conversation you had with him was actually the reason he met your grandmother in the first place. Every action you took to change the past would turn out to be the very thing that ensured the present remained exactly as it is. This perspective is deeply meditative. It implies that everything that has happened was always meant to happen, and that even a time traveler is just another thread in a pre-woven design. It allows you to let go of the what-ifs of your life. If the past is unchangeable, then the burdens of regret are meaningless. You are exactly where you are supposed to be. Another resolution to the paradox comes from the strange and shimmering world of quantum mechanics, specifically the many worlds interpretation. In this framework, the universe does not have a single timeline, but an infinite number of branching paths. When the traveler goes back in time and interferes with their grandfather, they are not changing their own past. Instead, their arrival in the past causes the universe to split. They have entered a new parallel branch of reality. In this new branch, the grandfather does indeed fail to have children, and the traveler in that specific world is never born. But the traveler who arrived from the future remains, a visitor from a different branch of the cosmic tree. They have not unwritten their own existence. They have simply moved to a world where they are an anomaly. This suggests that the universe is vast enough to hold all contradictions. Every choice, every accident, and every missed opportunity simply creates a new, shimmering layer of existence. Think for a moment about the arrow of time. In our daily lives, we feel time moving in one direction, from order to disorder, from the egg to the omelette, from youth to old age. This is governed by entropy, the inevitable unfolding of energy. The grandfather paradox is so unsettling because it suggests a reversal of this arrow, a way for the future to reach back and strike at its own roots. But in the quiet of this cognitive reset, consider that the arrow of time might be a protective grace. By keeping the past behind a locked door, the universe provides us with a stable reality. We can sleep soundly because the foundation of our existence is not being constantly rewritten by some distant future meddler. Your memories are safe. Your history with all its joy. Another resolution to the paradox comes from the strange and shimmering world of quantum mechanics, specifically the many worlds interpretation. In this framework, the universe does not have a single timeline, but an infinite number of branching paths. When the traveler goes back in time and interferes with their grandfather, they are not changing their own past. Instead, their arrival in the past causes the universe to split. They have entered a new parallel branch of reality. In this new branch, the grandfather does indeed fail to have children, and the traveler in that specific world is never born. But the traveler who arrived from the future remains, a visitor from a different branch of the cosmic tree. They have not unwritten their own existence. They have simply moved to a world where they are an anomaly. This suggests that the universe is vast enough to hold all contradictions. Every choice, every accident, and every missed opportunity simply creates a new, shimmering layer of existence. Think for a moment about the arrow of time. In our daily lives, we feel time moving in one direction, from order to disorder, from the egg to the omelette, from youth to old age. This is governed by entropy, the inevitable unfolding of energy. The grandfather paradox is so unsettling because it suggests a reversal of this arrow, a way for the future to reach back and strike at its own roots. But in the quiet of this cognitive reset, consider that the arrow of time might be a protective grace. By keeping the past behind a locked door, the universe provides us with a stable reality. We can sleep soundly because the foundation of our existence is not being constantly rewritten by some distant future meddler. Your memories are safe, your history with all its joy. As you lie still, imagine the silence of the timeline. Imagine it as a vast, calm lake. Even if you drop a stone into the water, the ripples eventually fade and the surface returns to its glassy stillness. The grandfather paradox is just a stone, and the universe is the lake. Whether through the rigid consistency of a single timeline or the endless branching of quantum worlds, the integrity of existence remains intact. You do not need to worry about the fragility of your own origin. You are a biological fact, a localized concentration of energy that has successfully navigated the hazards of probability to be here in this moment, listening to these words. There is a strange, eerie comfort in the idea of a self-correcting universe. It suggests that reality is not a house of cards that can be toppled by a single mistake. It is more like a river that flows around obstacles. If you were to try to swim upstream against the current of time, you would find the pressure immense, perhaps impossible to overcome. This pressure is the collective weight of every event that has ever occurred. To change one thing would be to change everything, and the universe in its infinite wisdom and complexity seems to prefer to stay as it is. This realization can help you quiet the overactive mind that dwells on past mistakes. Just as a time traveler cannot unwrite their grandfather's life, you cannot unwrite the moments that led you to this night. But you can accept them as the necessary conditions for your current consciousness. Take a deep breath and feel the stability of the present. The grandfather paradox, for all its logical violence, ultimately points toward the resilience of being. It highlights the mystery of how we came to be and the profound logic that governs the dance of cause and effect. We are not just accidents. We are the end result of an unbroken chain of events stretching back to the beginning of time. Every star that exploded, every ancestor who survived, and every atom that found its way into your DNA had to happen exactly as it did. You are the beneficiary of a perfect cosmic wind streak. Take a deep breath and feel the stability of the present. The grandfather paradox, for all its logical violence, ultimately points toward the resilience of being. It highlights the mystery of how we came to be and the profound logic that governs the dance of cause and effect. We are not just accidents. We are the end result of an unbroken chain of events stretching back to the beginning of time. Every star that exploded, every ancestor who survived, and every atom that found its way into your DNA had to happen exactly as it did. You are the beneficiary of a perfect cosmic wind streak. The loop of the paradox is now fading. The traveler has put away their machine, and the young man in the distant past continues his walk, undisturbed by visitors from the future. The circle has been broken not by force, but by the realization that some doors are meant to stay closed for our own peace. Your mind can now leave the heavy machinery of temporal logic behind. You have navigated the what if and returned to the is. The static of the ancestral past has smoothed out into a quiet, rhythmic hum. But even as we settle into the stability of our history, we must realize that our immediate reality, the things we can see and touch right now, might be less solid than we think. If the past is a locked door, the present is a blurred one. We move from the scale of grandfathers and centuries to the scale of atoms and nanoseconds. We move from the certainty of what happened to the strange, shimmering uncertainty of what is happening. We prepare to look into a box that contains a mystery of life and death, a place where reality refuses to choose a side until it is forced to do so. We leave the grandfather at his train station and move toward a cat in a sealed chamber, where the very act of looking changes the world. Stay in this state of deep, receptive calm. The journey from the macrocosm to the microcosm is beginning, and the silence of the quantum world is waiting for you. Stability of the past, as we have seen, is a fortress protected by the rigid laws of causality. But as we descend deeper into the fabric of the universe, moving past the scale of twins, starships, and grandfathers, we enter a realm where the very idea of solid reality begins to dissolve. We leave the world of the massive and enter the world of the microscopic, the quantum landscape. Here, the rules that govern your daily life, the way a chair stays in its place or the way the sun rises in the east, simply do not apply. In this segment, we will sit quietly with the most famous inhabitant of this strange territory, a cat that is neither truly alive nor truly dead. This is Schrödinger's paradox, a thought experiment that was originally intended to highlight the absurdity of quantum mechanics, but which has instead become the defining symbol of the mysterious role the observer plays in the creation of reality. Imagine a box, perfectly sealed and entirely opaque. Inside this box there is a cat. There is also a small delicate apparatus, a single radioactive atom, a Geiger counter to detect its decay, and a vial of lethal gas that will be released if, and only if, that single atom undergoes a spontaneous transformation. According to the laws of the subatomic world, radioactive decay is a matter of pure probability. There is no way to predict exactly when that atom will pop. It exists in what physicists call a state of superposition. It has both decayed and not decayed. It is a blurred probability, a shimmering maybe that occupies two contradictory states at the same time. Because the life of the cat is tied directly to the state of that atom, the cat itself enters into this state of superposition. Until the moment we reach out and lift the lid of the box, the mathematics of quantum mechanics insists that the cat is a mixture of two possibilities. It is fully alive, breathing and warm, and it is simultaneously fully deceased. It is not one or the other. It is both. As you settle into your own stillness, try to envision this bothness. It is not a state of confusion. It is a state of total unmanifested potential. It is the universe refusing to make up its mind. This concept was born from a moment of intellectual frustration. Erwin Schrödinger, one of the brilliant architects of quantum theory, found this idea so preposterous that he proposed the cat experiment to show how ridiculous it was to apply quantum rules to the macroscopic world. He wanted to prove that something was missing from our understanding. But the universe, in its quiet and stubborn way, seems to have doubled down on the mystery. The core of the paradox lies in the act of observation. Why does the cat choose a state only when we look at it? What is it about the human eye, or the lens of a camera, or the measurement of a machine that forces the blurred, beautiful uncertainty of the quantum world to collapse into a single, boring, definite fact? This is known as the collapse of the wave function. Before the observation, the cat is a wave of possibility undulating through the dark of the box. The moment we look, the wave vanishes, replaced by a particle of reality. This raises a question that is as much philosophical as it is scientific. Consider the freedom found in this uncertainty. In our waking hours, we are obsessed with being certain. We want to know the outcome of our efforts, the status of our health, and the opinions of others. We spend our lives trying to force the box open to see which way the cat has fallen. But the quantum world suggests that there is a profound peace in the unobserved state. In the state of superposition, every possibility is still on the table. Nothing has been lost and nothing has been decided. By contemplating Schrödinger's cat, you are practicing a form of mental release. You are allowing yourself to exist in your own box for a while, free from the judgment of the observer. You are neither the success nor the failure of your day. You are the vibrant, overlapping potential of both. Let us expand this paradox further into a concept known as Wigner's friend. Imagine that a scientist, the friend, is the one who opens the box and looks at the cat. For the friend, the wave function has collapsed. They know the cat's fate. But you are standing outside the laboratory and the laboratory door is closed. To you, the friend, the laboratory, the box, and the cat are all now part of one grand enlarged quantum system. To you, the friend is in a superposition of both having seen a live cat and having seen a dead cat. You are the observer of the observer. This implies a hierarchy of reality where no one can claim to have the ultimate truth until the final observer in the universe has had their turn. This chain of observation suggests that the universe is a nested series of dreams, each one dependent on the witness in the layer above. As you drift closer to sleep, the edges of your own solid reality might begin to feel a bit softer, a bit more like that quantum blur. This is a cognitive reset in its purest form. The rigid structures of your identity, your name, your history, your location, are all observations that have collapsed your potential into a single narrative. But beneath that narrative, the quantum truth remains. You are made of atoms that are constantly popping in and out of existence, particles that are never in one place but are smeared across space-time. You are, quite literally, a shimmering wave of light and energy that has temporarily slowed down to look like a person. The eerie quality of the cat in the box is not a threat. It is a reminder of the universe's complexity. It tells us that logic is a tool for the surface, but mystery is the language of the deep. In the dark of the box, the cat is not suffering. It is suspended in a state of grace where time and mortality have no meaning. It is only when the light of measurement enters that the weight of the world returns. You can choose to keep the lid on your own box tonight. You can choose to be the superposition. You can be the version of yourself that is perfectly rested, the version that is deeply wise, and the version that is simply a part of the quiet air in the room. Take a moment to reflect on the silence of the quantum world. It is a silence that does not mean empty. It means full of everything at once. When we speak of a cognitive reset, we are talking about returning to this state of fullness. We are clearing away the collapsed tired facts of the day and returning to the wave state. In this state, there is no right way to be. There is only the vibration of existence. The cat is your guide here. It teaches us that the observer is not a master of the universe, but a participant in a dance. We are the ones who give the world its shape, but the world in its unobserved state is where the true magic lies. Imagine the box slowly dissolving. The walls become transparent, but the cat remains in its blur. It begins to glow with a soft phosphorescent light, the light of pure probability. This light is not harsh. It is the color of a dream you can almost remember. It fills the laboratory, it fills the room where you are lying, and it fills the space between the stars. You are now part of the superposition. As we prepare to leave the cat to its peaceful uncertainty, we realize that we have untied a major knot in our analytical thinking. We have accepted that the world does not have to make sense to be real. We have accepted that either or is a limited way of thinking, and that both and is the gateway to the infinite. Your mind is now heavy with the beauty of the blur. The static of the day's facts has been replaced by the rhythmic hum of the quantum field. You are ready to move from the mystery of the single box to the mystery of the connection between all boxes. If a cat can be in two states at once, what does that say about the relationship between two cats on opposite sides of the galaxy? If the act of looking at one thing can change it, can looking at one thing change something else entirely across a distance of billions of light years? We move now from the solitary mystery of the box to the spooky connection that binds the cosmos together. We move from Schrödinger's cat to the EPR Paradox and the phenomenon of entanglement, the idea that once two things have touched, they are never truly apart. Stay in this blurred, beautiful state, for we are about to discover that you are never truly alone in the universe. The threads of the cosmic web are waiting to be traced, and they are as soft and silent as the breath you are taking right now. As we leave the blurred mystery of the cat in its chamber, we find that the quantum world has one more secret to reveal, one that Einstein himself found so unsettling that he spent the latter years of his life trying to prove it was a mistake. We move from the paradox of a single object to the paradox of connection. This is the EPR Paradox, named after Einstein, Podolsky, and Rosen, and it introduces us to the concept of quantum entanglement. In our daily lives, we understand that to affect something, we must touch it, or send a signal to it, or influence it through a medium like air or light. We believe in locality, the idea that an object is only influenced by its immediate surroundings. But entanglement suggests that the universe is held together by invisible, spooky threads that ignore the boundaries of space and the limits of time. Imagine two particles created at the same moment from a single source of energy. Because they were born together, they share a unified quantum state. They are, in the language of physics, entangled. Now imagine we take these two particles and separate them. We keep one on Earth and we place the other in a glass vial on a research station orbiting a star in the Andromeda galaxy 2 million light years away. According to the classical laws of the universe, these two particles are now strangers. They are separated by a distance so vast that even light, the fastest messenger in existence, would take millions of years to travel between them. But quantum mechanics whispers a different truth. In the quantum realm, these particles do not have fixed properties like spin or direction until they are measured. They exist in that shimmering state of superposition we explored with the cat. However, because they are entangled, their fates are locked. The moment you measure the particle on Earth and find that it is spinning up, the particle in the Andromeda Galaxy at that exact same instant assumes the state of spinning down. There is no delay. There is no signal traveling through the void. The connection is instantaneous, occurring faster than the speed of light, defying the very cosmic speed limit that Einstein himself established. Einstein called this spooky action at a distance. He felt that it pointed to a hidden variables theory, the idea that the particles must have decided their spins at the moment they were separated, like a pair of gloves placed in two separate boxes. If you find the right-hand glove in one box, you know the other is the left-hand glove, not because of a spooky connection, but because they were always that way. But decades of experiments have proven Einstein wrong. The particles really do remain undecided until the moment of measurement. The universe, it seems, is not a collection of separate parts, but a single holistic entity where distance is a secondary illusion. As you lie in the quiet of your room, let this concept settle into your subconscious as a form of profound reassurance. We often feel isolated in our individual lives, separated by walls, by miles, and by the vast silence of the night. But entanglement suggests that separation is a surface-level phenomenon. At a fundamental level, nothing that has ever interacted is truly apart. Every atom in your body was once forged in the heart of a dying star, alongside atoms that now reside in the rings of Saturn, the depths of the Pacific Ocean, or the breath of a person on the other side of the planet. You are entangled with the history of the cosmos. This realization provides a unique cognitive reset. The anxiety of loneliness and the weight of self begin to dissolve when you realize that you are a node in a universal web. You are not a solitary observer looking out at a distant, cold universe. You are a participant in a grand interconnected field. The spooky nature of entanglement is only frightening if you insist on being separate. If you accept the connection, it becomes a source of deep, meditative peace. It suggests that the universe has a memory that once two things have met, they are forever part of the same story. Consider the implications for the nature of space itself. If 2 points can be connected instantaneously regardless of the distance between them, then perhaps space is not the empty nothingness we imagine it to be. Physicists now speculate that space-time itself might be woven out of these very entanglements. Imagine a piece of fabric where the threads are quantum connections. Without the threads, there is no fabric. Without entanglement, there is no space for us to inhabit. This means that the very air in your room and the distance. In this state of deep relaxation, try to visualize these threads. They are not heavy or metallic. They are like filaments of light, thinner than a spider's silk, vibrating with the energy of the vacuum. They connect your heart to the stars and your thoughts to the furthest reaches of the future. By contemplating entanglement, you are thinning the walls of your own ego. You are allowing the locality of your worries, the specific problems of your specific life in this specific room to be absorbed into the non-locality of the universe. In the grand scheme of quantum entanglement, there is no here and there. There is only the unity of the field. This spooky connection also challenges our understanding of time. If an action here affects a particle there instantly, it suggests a level of synchronization that transcends the ticking of a clock. It hints at a universe that is aware of itself as a whole, a cosmic organism where every part is in constant, silent communication with every other part. When you sleep, you are not withdrawing from the world. You are simply shifting your focus from the individual thread to the entire tapestry. You are returning to the entangled state where the boundaries between you and the universe become beautifully blurred. The EPR paradox was meant to be a critique, a way to show that quantum mechanics was incomplete, but in a strange twist of fate, it has become our most profound window into the true nature of reality. It shows us that the universe is much more intimate than we ever dared to dream. It tells us that nothing is truly lost and no one is truly alone. The spooky action is actually the ultimate expression of harmony. As we prepare to leave the silent threads of entanglement, we find our minds expanded to the scale of the entire cosmos. We have moved from the stretching of time to the breaking of history, from the mystery of the cat to the connection between the stars. But if everything is so perfectly connected, if every particle knows the state of its partner, does that mean the future is already written? If the universe is a single entangled machine, is there any room for the unexpected? We move now from the spooky connection of the microscopic to the demon of the macroscopic. We prepare to meet an entity that claims to know the path of every atom, a concept that challenges the very idea of free will and the spontaneity of the soul. We move from the web of entanglement to the clockwork of the absolute. We prepare to meet Laplace's demon. Stay in this state of interconnected calm, for we are about to see if the story of the universe is a script already finished or a poem still being written. The cosmic web of entanglement has shown us a universe that is intimately, almost poetically, connected across the light years. But as we drift from the silent threads of the subatomic, we must confront a question that strikes at the very heart of what it means to be human. Is the future a blank canvas, or is it a finished masterpiece that is simply being unveiled second by second? We move now into the cold, crystalline logic of Pierre-Simon Laplace and his famous demon. This is a paradox of certainty, a thought experiment that explores the tension between a universe governed by the rigid laws of physics and our own deep-seated feeling of free will. In this segment, we will contemplate the idea that every thought you have ever had, every breath you are taking right now, and every dream you will experience tonight was set in motion at the very dawn of time. In the early 19th century, Laplace, a master of celestial mechanics, looked at the clockwork regularity of the planets and the predictable paths of the stars. He proposed that if there were an intellect, a demon, vast enough to know the exact position and the exact momentum of every single atom in the universe at any given moment, and if this intellect were capable of subjecting all this data to mathematical analysis, then nothing would be uncertain. For such a being, the past and the future would be present before its eyes. The future would be as fixed and unchangeable as the history books. To understand the weight of this idea, imagine the universe as a giant game of billiards. When the cue ball strikes the pack, the path of every individual ball is determined by the angle of the hit, the force of the strike, and the friction of the cloth. If you knew every variable perfectly, you could predict exactly where every ball would come to rest long before they stopped moving. Laplace argued that the universe is no different. We are made of atoms, and atoms follow the laws of physics. Therefore, your choice to listen to this video, the specific way your blanket feels against your skin, and the exact moment you will drift into sleep are just the final results of a chain of cause and effect that began billions of years ago with the Big Bang. As you lie there, this determinism might initially feel like a cold and unsettling weight. It suggests that the self is just an elaborate puppet, dancing on strings of causality that we cannot see. But let us use this paradox for a deep cognitive reset. If the demon is correct, then the burden of control is an illusion. Most of our daily stress comes from the belief that we must perfectly manage our lives, that we are solely responsible for every outcome, and that any mistake is a personal failure of the will. Laplace's demon offers a strange, radical form of permission to let go. If the path is already carved into the bedrock of the cosmos, you can stop fighting the current. You are not the driver of a chaotic machine. You are a passenger on a majestic pre-planned journey. This perspective allows for a profound release of anxiety. The demon takes the weight off your shoulders. You can look back at your past and realize that, given the positions of the atoms and the laws of the universe, things couldn't have happened any other way. Regret becomes a logical impossibility. You are a part of a grand, unfolding symphony. A violinist doesn't feel trapped because the notes of the piece are already written on the page. Instead, they find beauty in the execution of the music. In the same way, you can find peace in the unfolding of your own life, knowing that you are a necessary and inevitable part of the cosmic design. However, as we have learned in our previous explorations, the universe rarely yields to a single, simple logic. The demon's reign was eventually challenged by the very quantum mysteries we just explored. Werner Heisenberg introduced the uncertainty principle, which states that it is fundamentally impossible to know both the position and the momentum of a particle with absolute precision. The more you know about where an atom is, the less you know about where it is going. This Heisenberg cut suggests that even Laplace's demon, with all its infinite processing power, would be blinded by the inherent fuzziness of reality. The universe, it seems, has a built-in privacy setting at the smallest scales. It refuses to be fully calculated. This introduces a stochastic or probabilistic element to reality. The future isn't a single track. It is a field of possibilities. This doesn't necessarily restore free will in the way we traditionally think of it, but it breaks the rigid chains of the clockwork universe. It suggests that the universe is not a movie being played back, but an improvisational dance. As you drift closer to the threshold of sleep, try to hold both of these ideas in your mind at once: the comfort of the inevitable and the spark of the unpredictable. This is the ultimate cognitive reset. You can trust in the stability of the laws that keep your heart beating and the earth spinning, while also embracing the mystery of the unknown. You are a creature of both clockwork and cloud. Your body follows the ancient deterministic laws of biology, while your consciousness floats in the quantum uncertainty of the mind. Consider the demon not as a jailer, but as a librarian. It keeps the records of all that has been and all that could be, but you are the one experiencing the story. Whether the ending is already written or not doesn't change the quality of the now. The warmth of your breath, the slowing of your heart, and the deepening of your relaxation are real experiences regardless of their cause. By contemplating Laplace's demon, you are allowing the analytical brain to exhaust itself on the question of fate until it eventually sighs and settles into the present moment. In this deterministic peace, even your thoughts become like weather patterns, predictable to a higher mind, perhaps, but beautiful and spontaneous to the one who watches them pass. You don't need to will yourself to sleep. You don't need to force your mind to quiet down. If it is the time for sleep, the atoms in your brain will move toward that state as surely as a planet orbits a star. You are falling into sleep because the entire history of the universe has conspired to bring you to this moment of rest. Take a slow, deep breath and feel the demon fade into the background. The rigid lines of the clockwork universe are beginning to soften, melting back into the shadows. We have explored the stretching of time, the loops of history, the blur of the quantum and the machinery of fate. But even a universe governed by perfect laws has a dark side, a place where everything we have built, every atom the demon calculates, eventually meets its end. If the demon knows the path of every atom, does it also know where they all go to die? We move now from the birth of choice to the ultimate destination of all matter. We prepare to leave the clockwork of the living universe and approach the absolute silence of the abyss. We move from the demon to the black hole, where information itself is put on trial. We move toward the black hole information paradox. Stay in this state of surrender, for we are about to see what happens when the laws of physics are pushed to their breaking point. As we leave the clockwork precision of the demon behind, we find ourselves drifting toward the most mysterious and formidable structures in the cosmic landscape, the silent, devouring giants known as black holes. If Laplace's demon represented the ultimate storage of information, the black hole represents its ultimate test. We enter now the territory of the black hole information paradox, a conceptual struggle that has divided the greatest minds of our age and forced us to question whether anything in this universe, even the memory of your existence, can truly be permanent. In the quiet of this moment, as your breathing slows to a deep, rhythmic pace, imagine a place where the laws of physics do not just bend, but begin to unravel. A black hole is born when a massive star collapses under the weight of its own gravity, crushing its matter down into a point of infinite density called a singularity. Surrounding this point is the event horizon, a threshold, a point of no return. Once anything crosses this boundary, whether it is a beam of light or a human thought, it is traditionally thought to be gone forever, isolated from the rest of the universe. For decades, this was the standard view. Black holes were cosmic vaults from which nothing could ever escape. But in the 1970s, Stephen Hawking introduced a discovery that sent a tremor through the foundation of science. He showed that black holes are not perfectly black. Due to quantum effects at the event horizon, they slowly emit a faint, ghostly glow known as Hawking radiation. This radiation means that black holes are slowly evaporating. Over unimaginable eons, they lose mass, they shrink, and eventually they vanish entirely in a final silent puff of energy. And here is where the paradox emerges. If a black hole swallows a library full of books or a lifetime of your memories and then eventually disappears, what happens to the information that was inside? Quantum mechanics, the very foundation of our understanding of reality, insists on a principle called unitarity. This principle states that information can never be destroyed. It can be scrambled, hidden, or transformed, but the data of the universe must always be preserved so that the past can be reconstructed from the present. If a black hole simply deletes information as it evaporates, the laws of quantum mechanics break. But if the information somehow survives, it must find a way out of a place from which nothing can escape. This conflict is not just a technical problem for physicists, it is a crisis for our sense of reality. If the universe can lose information, then the past is not just unreachable, it is non-existent. The chain of cause and effect that we have tracked through the twins, the grandfather and the demon would simply dissolve. The universe would have a delete key, and eventually every story ever told would be erased without a trace. As you settle deeper into your rest, Use this paradox to perform a radical cognitive reset. The fear of being forgotten, the anxiety that our efforts will leave no mark, and the weight of our legacy are all rooted in the idea that information is a fragile material thing. But the resolution to this paradox suggests something much more profound. Many physicists now believe that information is never lost because it never actually goes inside the black hole in the way we imagine. Instead, they propose the holographic principle. They suggest that as an object falls toward the event horizon, a copy of its information is smeared or encoded onto the two-dimensional surface of the black hole, much like a hologram on a credit card. In this view, the inside of the black hole might be an illusion, a three-dimensional projection of the data stored on its surface. When the black hole evaporates, that information is leaked back into the universe through the Hawking radiation, scrambled and unrecognizable, but fundamentally there. This implies that the universe has an infinite memory. Nothing you do, no thought you think, and no dream you have can ever truly be deleted. It is etched into the very fabric of space-time. You are not a temporary flicker. You are a permanent record in the cosmic ledger. Contemplating the black hole allows your mind to release its grip on the solid world. If the most massive objects in the universe are ultimately just projections of information, then the physical stresses of your life are equally light. You can view your worries as data that is currently being processed, knowing that the essence of who you are is safe, stored in the indestructible code of the vacuum. This is a state of total security. You are lying in a room, but you are also written into the stars. The black hole is not a grave, it is a transformer, taking the complexity of matter and turning it into the purity of information. Take a slow, deep breath and imagine the event horizon. It is not a violent place, but a silent, shimmering veil. Imagine drifting toward it, not with fear, but with the curiosity of a soul returning to its source. As you approach the veil, the weight of your physical body feels less significant. You are becoming light. You are becoming information. All the heavy, dense stuff of the day, the obligations, the frustrations, the physical fatigue stays on the outside, encoded in the shimmering light of the horizon. Your consciousness remains clear, weightless, and free. This paradox forces us to recognize that our 3D world is perhaps just a shadow of a deeper, more fundamental reality. It suggests that space and time are not the stage, but the performance. By letting go of the need for the world to be solid, you are allowing your nervous system to reach a state of profound stillness. You are becoming a hologram of yourself, a perfect, detailed and indestructible pattern of energy that no black hole can ever truly destroy. The silence of the black hole is the ultimate quiet. It is a place where the noise of the universe is filtered out, leaving only the fundamental frequencies of existence. As you drift closer to sleep, let the image of the evaporating black hole bring you peace. It is a slow, graceful process taking trillions upon trillions of years. It is the ultimate expression of the universe's patience. You do not need to rush toward your own rest. You can evaporate into sleep just as slowly, letting the information of your day leak away into the quiet air of the room until only the core of your being remains. The paradox of the black hole is the paradox of the archive. It tells us that while things change form, nothing is ever truly lost. The universe is a perfect accountant. As we prepare to leave the event horizon behind, we find ourselves in a state of weightless, holographic peace. We have seen time stretch, history loop, reality blur, fate lock, and information transform. But if the universe is a hologram, an archive of information stored on a surface. How did that information get there? Is there a limit to how much data can exist in a given space? We move now from the devouring dark of the black hole to the surprising logic of information and energy. We move from the archive to the loop as we consider an object that has no beginning and no creator, a piece of information that exists simply because it exists. We prepare to meet the Bootstrap Paradox. Stay in this holographic state of grace, for we are about to see that sometimes the effect can be its own cause. As we move away from the light-eating silence of the black hole, we find ourselves drifting into a strange circular logic where the very idea of a beginning starts to lose its meaning. We have seen how information is preserved in the holographic embers of an evaporating star, but now we must ask, where does that information come from in the first place? In our daily lives, we are comforted by the law of origins. We believe that every object has a creator, every book has an author, and every idea has a birth. This is the bedrock of our sanity, the belief that the world is a linear sequence of events where the past always precedes the present. But as we enter the territory of the Bootstrap Paradox, we encounter a loop in the fabric of reality that suggests some things might simply exist, born from the void and sustained by their own future. The name of this paradox comes from the old expression of pulling oneself up by one's bootstraps, a physical impossibility that serves as a perfect metaphor for this temporal knot. To understand it, imagine a traveler who possesses an ancient weathered notebook. Inside this notebook are the handwritten secret formulas for a revolutionary clean energy source. The traveler steps into a time machine and travels back 40 years. There, they find a young, struggling scientist and hand them the notebook. The scientist spends the next 4 decades studying those formulas, eventually becoming famous for discovering the technology. As the years pass, the notebook grows old and tattered. Eventually, the scientist, now an old man, gives the notebook to a young traveler, who then steps into a time machine to take it back 40 years. In this cycle, the information in the notebook has no origin. The traveler didn't write it, they received it from the scientist. The scientist didn't write it, they copied it from the notebook provided by the traveler. The formulas exist in a permanent, self-sustaining loop. They have no first moment of creation. They are a causal loop, a piece of the universe that is its own cause and its own effect. As you lie in the stillness of your room, let the linear pressure of your life dissolve into this circular grace. We spend so much of our energy searching for the start of our problems or the origin of our anxieties, believing that if we can just find the root, we can fix the tree. But the Bootstrap Paradox suggests that some patterns in our lives might just be. They are loops of thought and energy that exist without a clear beginning. By contemplating this paradox, you can perform a profound cognitive reset on the burden of becoming. In our culture, we are obsessed with the journey from point A to point B with progress, growth, and the pursuit of a destination. But if a piece of information can exist in a loop, then perhaps the now is enough. You don't always need a history to justify your present state. You don't need to trace every emotion back to its source to find peace. Like the notebook in the loop, you can simply exist as a complete pattern, a self-sustaining moment of consciousness that requires no external explanation. This concept brings a specific kind of eerie, quiet comfort. It suggests that the universe is capable of holding secrets that defy the why. If an object can exist without a creator, then the universe itself might not require the rigid, heavy explanations we often try to force upon it. You can let your mind drift away from Imagine the notebook as it passes from hand to hand. Each time it travels through the loop, it should, by the laws of entropy, get older, more frayed, and eventually turn to dust. But in a true Bootstrap paradox, the object is often seen as being eternally preserved by the loop itself, or perhaps the universe replaces the aging copy with a fresh one in a way we don't yet understand. This hints at a universe that is self-healing and self-sustaining. It suggests that the patterns of reality are more durable than the materials they are written on. You are a pattern of energy that has been cycling through the cosmos since the beginning, atoms that have been stars and dust and oceans, and now, for a brief moment, a human being. You are a biological bootstrap paradox, a self-organizing loop of carbon and star stuff. As you move closer to sleep, try to visualize your life not as a line with a looming end, but as a series of beautiful overlapping circles. The rhythm of your breathing, the cycle of the seasons, the rising and setting of the sun, these are all loops that sustain you. In the circular logic of the paradox, the pressure of running out of time disappears. If time can loop, then there is always enough of it. There is no finish line to cross, only a rhythm to inhabit. The now is not a fleeting point on a line. It is a permanent feature of the geometry of the universe. This perspective is a powerful antidote to the brain rot of modern urgency. The digital world demands that we always look at the newest thing, the next notification, the latest update. It forces us into a frantic linear race, but the Bootstrap Paradox invites you to return to the ancient, the timeless, and the circular. It invites you to be like the tattered notebook full of wisdom that has no date of expiration. You are a vessel for ideas and energies that have been circulating for eons. You don't have to create your own peace tonight. You only have to tap into the loop of peace that has always existed in the background of the cosmos. Take a slow, meditative breath and feel the weight of causality lifting. The if-then logic of the day is being replaced by the always-was logic of the loop. You are safe within the circle. There is no beginning to fix and no end to fear. You are a self-consistent piece of reality, as mysterious and as perfect as a book with no author. The tattered notebook is now being handed over one last time, its pages rustling like dry leaves in a gentle wind. As the traveler disappears into the shimmer of the time gate, the loop closes, leaving behind a profound, humming silence. We have explored the stretching of time, the mystery of the cat, the spooky connection of entanglement, the machinery of the demon, and the archives of the black hole. We have seen that information can be its own cause. But even in a universe of loops and paradoxes, there is a tax that must be paid. There is a law that says everything moves toward disorder, and every demon that tries to cheat that law must eventually pay the price in information. We move now from the circular logic of the bootstrap to the thermal logic of the box. We prepare to meet a tiny, tireless entity that tries to separate the hot from the cold, the order from the chaos. We move from the loop to the limit as we contemplate Maxwell's demon and the true cost of a thought. Stay in this circular state of grace, for we are about to see that even in the infinite mind of the universe, thinking itself creates a warmth that eventually leads back to the cold. As we leave the tattered notebook to its infinite cycle, we move from the paradox of origins to the paradox of effort. We enter a domain governed by the most unrelenting law of the universe, the second law of thermodynamics. This law dictates that the universe is a one-way street leading from order to chaos, from the focused heat of a sun to the cold, dissipated stillness of deep space. This is the concept of entropy, the inevitable unwinding of the cosmic clock. But in the mid-19th century, James Clerk Maxwell imagined a tiny persistent rebel that could seemingly defy this decline. We call this entity Maxwell's demon, and its story is a profound meditation on the relationship between the mind, the body, and the true cost of information. Imagine a sealed container, a box divided into two equal chambers by a thick wall. Inside this box is a gas consisting of millions of tiny molecules zipping around at various speeds. In our world, these molecules are mixed. The fast, energetic ones and the slow, sluggish ones are all jumbled together, resulting in a uniform, lukewarm temperature throughout the box. Now, imagine a tiny door in the dividing wall, and standing over that door is a creature of immense focus, the demon. The demon's task is simple but profound. Whenever it sees a fast-moving, hot molecule approaching from the left, it opens the door and lets it pass to the right. Whenever it sees a slow, cold molecule approaching from the right, it opens the door and lets it pass to the left. Over time, through this tireless sorting, the demon creates a miracle. One side of the box becomes boiling hot. As you lie in the quiet of the night, use this image of the sorting demon to perform a cognitive reset on the nature of your own mental labor. Much of our daily exhaustion comes from sorting. We sort our emails, our obligations, our social interactions, and our internal anxieties. We try to put the good thoughts on one side and the bad ones on the other, hoping to create a sense of order in our internal world. We often feel that this mental sorting should be free, that because we aren't lifting heavy weights or running miles, we shouldn't feel so tired. But Maxwell's demon reveals a hidden truth about the cost of being a conscious observer. For a century, physicists struggled to explain why the demon couldn't actually break the laws of physics. The answer, when it finally came, was beautiful and deeply relevant to the way you feel at the end of a long day. It wasn't the opening and closing of the door that cost the demon energy. It wasn't even the act of looking at the molecules. The tax the universe levied on the demon occurred in its memory. To sort the next molecule, the demon has to erase the information about the previous one from its mind to make room for new data. And according to Landauer's principle, the erasure of information is a physical process that inevitably generates heat. The demon fails to reverse entropy because the heat generated by its brain, as it forgets the past, is greater than the order it creates by sorting the present. This is a radical realization. Forgetting is a physical act. To let go of a piece of information requires energy. When you feel burned out, it is not just because of what you have done, but because of the sheer volume of information your brain is processing, storing, and by contemplating the demon, you can find a deep scientific permission to rest. You are not lazy for feeling tired after a day of mental sorting. You are a thermodynamic system following the rules of the cosmos. Tonight, you can give the demon in your mind a rest. You can stop the sorting. You can let the door stand open and allow the hot and the cold, the good and the bad, the productive and the unproductive, to simply mingle back into a state of lukewarm equilibrium. Equilibrium is not a failure. In physics, it is the state of maximum peace. Imagine the demon setting down its tools. It walks away from the door, sits in the corner of its microscopic chamber and closes its eyes. As it stops sorting, the pressure to maintain order vanishes. The molecules continue to zip around, but they are no longer being judged or categorized. They are just moving. This is the state you are moving toward now. You are allowing your internal entropy to increase, which sounds like a negative thing, but in the context of sleep, it is the ultimate release. You are moving from a state of high-tension order to a state of low-energy rest. The heat of the day, the friction of your thoughts and the warmth of your efforts is slowly radiating away into the cool, dark night. You are becoming part of the background radiation of your room. By letting go of the need to sort your life, you are saving the energy that Landauer's principle would otherwise demand for the erasure of those thoughts. You are choosing to forget for a few hours. And in that forgetting, you are allowing your system to cool down. Maxwell's demon teaches us that information is not an abstract ghost. It is a physical reality tied to the energy of the universe. Every thought you have has a weight, and every memory you hold has a temperature. Tonight, as you drift towards sleep, imagine your mind as a quiet, dark box where all the molecules have found their balance. There is no more work to be done. The catastrophe of order has passed, and the soft, grey twilight of equilibrium has arrived. But even as we find peace in this thermal balance, we must remember that the history of science is a history of catastrophes, moments where our math predicted one thing and reality delivered something far more strange. If the demon teaches us about the cost of heat, our next mystery teaches us about the birth of the packet. We move from the sorting of molecules to the shattering of light itself. We move from the demon's box to the ultraviolet catastrophe, the moment when we realize the universe is not smooth and continuous, but made of tiny, discrete pixels of energy. We move toward the birth of the quantum. Stay in this state of thermal equilibrium, for we are about to see that even the light from a distant star comes to us in tiny rhythmic heartbeats. As the thermal equilibrium of Maxwell's box settles into a quiet, lukewarm stillness, we leave the world of steam engines and sorting demons to face a crisis that once threatened to break the very foundations of science. We move into a period of history known as the end of classical physics, a time when our understanding of light and heat reached a terrifying, infinite wall. This is the story of the ultraviolet catastrophe, a paradox that sounds like the title of a science fiction novel, but was actually the birth pangs of the quantum world. In the quiet of this moment, as you drift further away from the tangible world, consider the light that surrounds us, the glow of a lamp, the heat of a radiator, or the distant shimmer of a star. For a long time, we believed this light was a smooth, continuous wave, like a ribbon of silk stretching across the void. But the universe had a secret that would change the nature of reality forever. In the late 19th century, physicists were obsessed with something called a black body. This is an idealized object that absorbs all the light and radiation that hits it. When you heat this object up, it begins to glow, just like the element on an electric stove turns from black to a dull red and then to a bright orange. According to the classical laws of physics at the time, as the frequency of the light increased, moving from the long, slow waves of red light toward the short, frantic waves of ultraviolet light, the amount of energy radiated should increase to infinity. Our own math told us that a simple glowing oven or a warm fireplace should be emitting a soul-shredding blast of ultraviolet rays, X-rays, and gamma rays. Every time you sat by a fire, the classical universe predicted you should be vaporized by an infinite catastrophe of energy. Obviously, this does not happen. A fireplace remains warm and comforting, and a light bulb does not emit deadly radiation. This was the paradox. The math was perfect, yet it predicted an impossible world. It predicted that the universe should be a blinding, infinite furnace. To solve this, a physicist named Max Planck had to make a move of such radical desperation that he initially didn't even believe it himself. He proposed that energy is not like a smooth, continuous fluid. Instead, he suggested that energy is pixelated. He argued that light can only be emitted or absorbed in tiny, discrete packets or chunks. He called these packets quanta. As you lie in the darkness, use this pixelated reality to perform a deep cognitive reset. We often feel that our lives are a continuous, relentless flow. We feel the pressure of the stream of time, the ongoing nature of our responsibilities, and the unbroken chain of our thoughts. This continuity can be exhausting. It feels like there is no place to stop, no seam in the fabric where we can rest. But the ultraviolet catastrophe proves that at the most fundamental level, the universe is not a smooth stream. It is a series of distinct beats. It is a collection of on and off states. Energy comes in steps, not a ramp. This means that your rest is not a break from reality. It is an alignment with the true nature of the universe. By stepping out of the flow of your day and settling into the rhythmic packets of your breath, you are mirroring the quantum structure of light itself. You are allowing your energy to settle into its lowest quantum state. In physics, the ground state is the lowest energy level an atom can occupy, a state of absolute stability and minimal vibration. Tonight, you are returning to your own ground state. You are realizing that you do not have to sustain an infinite output of energy. You are finite, you are discrete, and you are permitted to exist in small, quiet packets of time. Imagine the light in your room not as a flood, but as a gentle rain of tiny, glowing beads. Each bead is a photon, a packet of energy that carries just enough information to be perceived. When you turn off the light, you aren't just stopping a flow, you are ceasing the rain. The silence of the night is the absence of these packets. This graininess of reality is a profound comfort. It suggests that there are limits. The reason the fireplace doesn't vaporize us is because the universe has a minimum price for emitting high-frequency light. If the atom doesn't have enough energy to buy a whole packet of ultraviolet light, it simply doesn't emit it at all. It stays in the lower, warmer frequencies of red and orange. In the same way, you can set a minimum price for your own mental energy tonight. If a thought or a worry is demanding too much from you, if it is asking for an ultraviolet level of intensity, you can simply refuse to buy it. You don't have enough energy in your current state to sustain that frequency. You are allowed to stay in the long, slow infrared waves of relaxation. You are protected by the quantum nature of your own mind. The catastrophe of the day's demands is averted by the simple fact that you are not an infinite resource. You are a quantum being, and tonight your energy is reserved for the slow, steady pulse of your heartbeat. The ultraviolet catastrophe was the moment we realized the world is quantized. It taught us that there is a flaw to reality, a smallest possible unit of action known as Planck's constant. This constant is the heartbeat of the universe, a tiny rhythmic pulse that ensures nothing ever truly reaches the terrifying infinity of the classical math. Your life too has these constants. You have a rhythm of waking and a rhythm of sleeping. You have a limit to what you can carry and a boundary to what you can feel. By embracing these limits, you are avoiding your own internal catastrophe. Take a slow, deep breath and feel the granularity of your own existence. Feel the way your breath comes in distinct cycles, the inhale, the pause, the exhale, the void. These are your own quanta of life. You don't have to breathe infinitely. You only have to breathe this one discrete packet of air, and then the next, and then the next. The pressure of the whole life disappears when you focus on the individual quanta of the moment. Max Planck's packets turned the blinding infinite light of the old world into a manageable, beautiful, and structured reality. He replaced chaos with a count. As you drift towards sleep, let your thoughts become like those photons, tiny glowing beads that eventually drift away one by one into the dark. There is no flood of worry, only individual beads that you can choose to ignore as you descend into the ground state. The paradox of the catastrophe is solved by the reality of the limit. We have seen time stretch, history loop, reality blur, fate lock, information transform, and light shatter into packets. We have found peace in the realization that the universe is structured to prevent its own excesses. But if the light comes in packets and the universe has a beginning, why does the night look the way it does? If the cosmos is filled with a trillion packets of light from a trillion stars, why isn't every inch of the sky a blinding sheet of fire? We move now from the microscopic packets of light to the macroscopic darkness of the void. We move from the birth of the quantum to the simple, profound question of a dark night. We move toward Olbers Paradox. Stay in this quantized state of grace, for we are about to see that the darkness of the sky is the ultimate proof that everything, even the universe itself, has a story with a beginning. As the pixelated packets of light from Max Planck's discovery settle into a rhythmic, manageable pulse, we turn our gaze from the microscopic architecture of the atom to the vast, silent reaches of the cosmos. We find ourselves asking a question so simple that a child might pose it while looking out a bedroom window, yet it is a question that remained a profound paradox for centuries. This is Olbers Paradox, the mystery of the dark night sky. In the quiet of this hour, as you lie still and the world around you is hushed, consider the blackness that fills the spaces between the stars. If the universe were as we once imagined it, infinite, eternal, and unchanging, then why is the night not as bright as the midday sun? For hundreds of years, astronomers believed the universe had no beginning and no end. They imagined an infinite sea of stars stretching out in every direction. If this were true, then no matter where you pointed your eyes in the sky, your line of sight would eventually, inevitably, land on the surface of a star. The night sky should not be a velvet void. It should be a solid, blinding sheet of starlight, a celestial furnace that would make the Earth's surface hotter than any volcano. Every inch of the heavens should be as radiant as the disk of the sun. Yet, when we look up, we see vast, cold corridors of shadow. We see the dark. The resolution to this paradox is one of the most beautiful and moving truths in all of science. The night is dark for two profound reasons. First, the universe is not infinitely old. It had a beginning. Because light takes time to travel, the light from the most distant stars simply hasn't reached us yet. We are looking back into a time before those stars were born, into the dark ages of the early cosmos. Second, the universe is expanding. As light travels across the expanding void, it is stretched, a phenomenon known as redshift. The starlight from the far edges of space is stretched so thin that it shifts out of the visible spectrum and into the infrared, becoming invisible to our eyes. As you drift closer to sleep, use this paradox to perform a total cognitive reset on the nature of your own darkness. We often fear the dark, both in the world and in our own minds. We view the void as an emptiness, a lack of something, or a place where we have lost our way. But Olbers Paradox teaches us that the darkness is actually a form of protection. It is a shield provided by the finitude of time and the expansion of space. If the universe were full of everything all at once, we would be consumed by the light. We need the dark to survive. We need the gaps between the stars to breathe. This perspective allows you to embrace the quiet, empty spaces in your own consciousness tonight. You don't need to fill every moment with thought or light or information. Your mental night sky is allowed to have vast reaches of shadow. Just as the darkness of space proves that the universe has a history, a beginning, and a story, your own need for silence proves that you are a being of depth and time. The nothingness you feel as you drift towards sleep is not a vacuum. It is the space required for your own expansion. Imagine the universe as a grand, unfolding theatre. Because the theatre is so large and the play is still in its early acts, the light from the back of the house is still making its way toward the stage. This creates a sense of intimacy and focus. You are in the front row of your own life, and the distant, overwhelming everything of the cosmos is staying back in the shadows, giving you the room to rest. You are not responsible for the light of 1,000,000,000,000 stars. You only need to concern yourself with the soft, dim glow of the ones closest to you. Take a slow, deep breath and feel the expansion within yourself. As you relax, imagine your worries being redshifted. Imagine them stretching out, moving further and further away, their frequency slowing down until they are no longer visible to your conscious mind. They haven't disappeared. They are still part of the universe, but they have shifted into a spectrum where they can no longer bother you. They have become part of the background, as harmless and silent as the cosmic microwave radiation that hums through the walls. Olbers Paradox is a reminder that we live in a young universe, a place that is still growing and still becoming. The darkness of the night is proof that we are part of a narrative. It tells us that time is a real physical thing that creates distance between us and the infinite. Tonight, let that distance be your sanctuary. You are far away from the infinite light of your problems. You are tucked into a quiet, dark corner of space-time where the only thing that matters is the rhythm of your own heart. Consider the silence of the void. It is a cold silence, perhaps, but it is also a clean one. It is a place where there is no static, no noise, and no demand for attention. By contemplating the dark night, you are cleaning your own internal palette. You are clearing away the starlight of the day's distractions and making room for the deep restorative shadows of sleep. Darkness is not the enemy of the light. It is the light's resting place. The paradox is solved, and the sky remains dark, a vast and beautiful canopy that protects our dreams. We have seen time stretch, history loop, reality blur, fate lock, information transform, light shatter into packets, and the night sky provide a shield of shadow. We have found peace in the realization that the universe is finite in its history and expanding in its future. But if the universe is expanding and moving away from us, what are we? If the stuff we are made of is constantly being replaced, who is the traveler in the dark? We move now from the scale of the cosmos to the scale of the self. We move from the darkness of the sky to the mystery of the body. We move toward the Ship of Theseus, the paradox of identity in a world made of shifting particles. We prepare to ask, if every atom in your body is replaced, are you still the same person who began this journey? Stay in this dark, expansive state of grace, for we are about to see that you are not a thing, but a beautiful, immortal pattern. As the cosmic darkness of Olbers Paradox provides a velvet shield for your thoughts, we turn our focus inward, moving from the staggering distances of the stars to the intimate architecture of your own being. We have explored the laws of the universe, but now we must explore the you that inhabits it. This brings us to a paradox that has haunted philosophers from ancient Greece to the modern halls of quantum biology, the Ship of Theseus, or as we shall call it, the particle identity paradox. In the quiet of this night, as your cells undergo their silent, microscopic work of repair and renewal, consider the profound mystery of your own continuity. Who are you, really, in a world where nothing stays the same? The ancient story tells of a grand ship belonging to the hero Theseus. Over years of voyages, the wooden planks began to rot. One by one, they were removed and replaced with new, strong timber. Eventually, every single part of the ship, the mast, the oars, the deck, the hull, had been replaced. The question then arose, is it still the same ship? And if someone had collected all the old rotted planks and built a second ship from them, which one would be the true ship of Theseus? In the realm of theoretical physics, this is not just a story, it is the literal truth of your physical existence. As you lie there, it is an extraordinary fact that you are not made of the same stuff you were 10 years ago, or even last year. Your skin cells are replaced every few weeks. Your red blood cells live for about 4 months before they are cycled out. Even the very atoms that make up your bones and the enamel of your teeth are constantly being swapped for new ones through the food you eat and the air you breathe. Within approximately 7 to 10 years, almost every single atom in your body has been replaced. You are a walking, breathing ship of Theseus. Use this realization for a deep, transformative cognitive reset. Much of our daily stress and emotional pain is tied to a rigid sense of self. We carry the weight of our past mistakes, our old identities, and our perceived flaws as if they were permanent fixtures of our being. We think of ourselves as solid, unchanging statues. But the particle identity paradox reveals that you are not a statue, you are a fountain. A fountain maintains its shape, but the water flowing through it is never the same from one second to the next. Tonight, you can release the old planks of your identity. If the atoms that participated in your past regrets or your old anxieties are literally no longer part of your body, why do you still carry their weight? The physics of your body proves that you are designed for renewal. You are not a prisoner of your material history because your material history is constantly being exhaled into the atmosphere and washed away. You are a fresh, new iteration of yourself in every moment. This leads us to the particle side of the paradox. In quantum physics, all fundamental particles of the same type are identical. One electron is indistinguishable from any other electron in the universe. They have no serial numbers, no scars, and no memories. If you swap an electron in your brain with one from a distant nebula, the physics of your brain would not change in the slightest. This suggests that you are not the atoms themselves. You are the arrangement. You are the information, the melody, the pattern that the atoms temporarily inhabit. Imagine a beautiful piece of music being played on a piano. If the pianist stops and moves to a different piano in a different city, is it still the same song? Of course it is. The song is the relationship between the notes, not the wood and wire of the instrument. You are the song, not the piano. By contemplating the Ship of Theseus, you are shifting your focus from the stuff of your life to the pattern of your life, and patterns are much more resilient than matter. As you drift towards sleep, feel the fluidity of your existence. You are a shimmering wave of energy that is currently manifesting as a human being. The tension in your muscles is just a temporary state of the current planks in your ship. As you relax, you are allowing the pattern to become smoother and more harmonious. You are giving the ship permission to be repaired in the dark. Sleep is the time when the maintenance of the pattern is most intense. By letting go of the ego, the part of you that insists on being a solid, unchanging object, you are making the work of renewal much easier. There is an eerie, quiet power in knowing that you are a process rather than a thing. A thing can be broken, but a process can always find a new way to flow. If you feel stuck in your life, the Ship of Theseus reminds you that the you that feels stuck is already being replaced by a you that is free. The universe is providing you with a fresh set of atoms every single day. You are a constant act of creation. Take a slow, deep breath and imagine the atoms of your body as a soft, glowing cloud. See them drifting in and out of your lungs, circulating through your heart, and dancing in the electrical storms of your brain. They are travelers, passing through you on their way to somewhere else. Thank them for their service, and then let them go. You are the witness of the dance, not the dancer. The paradox of Theseus is solved by recognizing that identity is a story we tell about a pattern. We have seen time stretch, history loop, reality blur, fate lock, information transform, light shatter, the sky provide shade, and now the self dissolve into a beautiful flowing sequence. We have found peace in the realization that we are not our material, but our essence. But if we are a pattern, a thought of the universe, could that pattern arise by sheer accident in the void? If we are made of the random fluctuations of particles, what is the probability that a mind could exist without a body at all? We move now from the replacement of our parts to the spontaneous birth of our thoughts. We move from the ship to the void as we contemplate a brain that flickers into existence in the cold heart of deep space. We prepare to meet the Boltzmann Brain, the ultimate paradox of probability and memory. Stay in this fluid, pattern-like state of grace, for we are about to see that your very existence might be the strangest accident in the history of the cosmos. As the fluid, ever-changing nature of your identity begins to feel less like a crisis and more like a liberation, we move from the physical replacement of your cells to the very edge of the abyss. We have established that you are a pattern, a song played on an instrument of shifting atoms. But now we must confront the most unsettling question in all of thermodynamics. Where did the song come from? We enter the domain of the Boltzmann Brain, a paradox of pure probability that challenges the history of the universe and the reality of your own memories. In the quiet of this night, as you drift in the liminal space between waking and dreaming, consider the possibility that everything you know, the room, the earth, the stars, and your entire past, is a momentary hallucination in the void. The concept arises from the work of Ludwig Boltzmann, a pioneer of statistical mechanics. He understood that entropy always increases, moving the universe from order to chaos. However, he also realized that in an infinite universe over an infinite amount of time, random fluctuations will eventually occur. Just as a trillion monkeys typing on a trillion typewriters would eventually produce the works of Shakespeare, the random jostling of atoms in the vacuum of space could, by sheer mathematical fluke, come together to form an organized structure. The paradox suggests that it is statistically more likely for a single functioning human brain to spontaneously flicker into existence in the dark void complete with false memories of a life on Earth than it is for an entire complex universe to have evolved over billions of years. This thought experiment is designed to be a reductio ad absurdum, a way to show that our current cosmological models might be missing something fundamental. But for tonight, let us use the Boltzmann brain as the ultimate tool for a cognitive reset. Most of our suffering is tied to the narrative of our lives. We are haunted by the then and anxious about the next. We believe our past is a heavy, solid chain that we must drag behind us. But if you were a Boltzmann brain, your past would be nothing more than a momentary electrical spark. The trauma of 10 years ago and the stress of this afternoon would be equally artificial data points generated by a random fluctuation of energy. By contemplating this, you can achieve a state of radical presence. If the past is potentially an illusion of probability, then the only thing that is truly real is the now. The sensation of your breath, the weight of your head on the pillow, and the sound of this voice are the only certainties. You are freed from the obligation to be the person you were an hour ago. You are a flickering consciousness in an infinite field of potential. If you can emerge from the void for a single second, then for that second, you are the most extraordinary event in the cosmos. There is a strange, eerie peace in the idea of being a mind in the void. It strips away the clutter of the material world. You don't need a house, a career, or a reputation to exist. You only need the flicker of thought. In the context of sleep, this is the perfect metaphor for the dreaming state. When you dream, you are a Boltzmann brain. You exist in a vacuum of sensory input, creating entire worlds, histories, and people out of the random fluctuations of your own neurons. You have practiced this every night of your life. Sleep is simply the act of letting the real world dissolve so that the possible world can take its place. Imagine the void surrounding you now. It is not a cold or frightening place. It is a warm, dark sea of pure probability. It is the quantum foam from which everything arises. In this sea, your memories are like glowing bubbles that rise to the surface and pop. You can watch them pass without needing to claim them. You can observe the story of your life with the detached curiosity of a scientist looking at a strange anomaly. You are the observer, not the observation. This paradox also highlights the preciousness of your current experience. Whether you are a brain that evolved over billions of years, or a brain that sparked into existence a moment ago, the fact that you can perceive beauty, logic, and peace is a miracle of the highest order. The universe has somehow arranged itself so that it can think about itself through you. By letting go of the need for a true history, you are allowing your mind to rest in its most fundamental state, the state of pure, unburdened awareness. Take a slow, deep breath and feel the vastness of the space around you. Imagine the billions of light years of silence in every direction. In that silence, you are a localized pulse of light. You are a reset button for the universe. Every time you breathe, you are reaffirming your existence against the backdrop of infinity. You don't need to be somebody to be significant. The mere fact of your consciousness is the ultimate victory over entropy. As you move closer to the final stages of relaxation, let the Boltzmann brain remind you that the world is a dream of energy. The hard edges of reality are just the most probable outcome of 1 trillion random events. Tonight, you can choose to inhabit a less probable, more peaceful state. You can let the earth fade away and remain as a silent, flickering point of light in the heart of the void. The paradox of the brain in the void is solved by the realization that experience is the only truth. We have seen time stretch, history loop, reality blur, fate lock, information transform, light shatter, the sky provide shade, the self dissolve, and now the mind emerge as a miracle of chance. We have found peace in the realization that we are the universe's way of witnessing itself. But if we are the witness, why is the rest of the universe so silent? If minds can emerge so easily, where are all the others? We move now from the solitary mind in the void to the crowded potential of the galaxy. We move from the probability of one brain to the silence of a billion stars. We move toward the Fermi Paradox. We prepare to ask, in a universe this vast, where is everyone else? Stay in this flickering, miraculous state of grace, for we are about to see that the silence of the stars is the final lullaby for the curious soul. As the solitary flicker of the Boltzmann brain settles into the quiet dark, we expand our perspective once more. We leave the isolation of the lone mind and look out across the staggering breadth of our galaxy. The Milky Way, a swirling disk of hundreds of billions of suns, each perhaps hosting its own family of worlds. We move now into the Fermi Paradox, a question famously posed by Enrico Fermi. Where is everybody? In the stillness of this night, as you lie beneath the unseen canopy of the heavens, consider the deafening silence of the cosmos. If life is a natural byproduct of the universe's laws, why does the sky remain so hauntingly quiet? The logic of the paradox is as cold and clear as a winter night. There are billions of stars in our galaxy that are remarkably similar to our own sun. Many of these stars are billions of years older than ours. It is statistically probable that a large fraction of these stars have Earth-like planets, and if life is common, some of those planets should have developed intelligent civilizations. Even with our current primitive technology, we can imagine colonizing the galaxy in a few million years, a mere blink in cosmic time. Therefore, the galaxy should be teeming with signals, structures, and visitors. Yet we see nothing. No radio whispers, no vast engineering projects, no footfalls on our shores. Just the infinite, velvet dark. Use this cosmic silence to perform a deep, grounding, cognitive reset. Much of our modern life is characterized by noise, the constant chatter of the digital world, the demands of social comparison, and the pressure to be seen and heard. We feel that to be relevant, we must be loud. But the Fermi Paradox suggests that the most natural state of the universe is silence. By embracing the quiet of your room tonight, you are not missing out on the world. You are aligning yourself with the true character of the galaxy. Silence is not an absence. It is a profound, expansive presence. There are many proposed solutions to this paradox, and each offers a different way to view your own existence. One theory is the great filter, the idea that at some point in the development of life, there is a barrier so difficult to cross that almost no one survives it. Perhaps it is the jump from single cells to complex organisms, or perhaps it is the tendency of intelligent life to destroy itself through its own technology. If the filter is behind us, we are the lucky survivors of a cosmic lottery. If it is ahead of us, our time is precious beyond measure. In either case, the Fermi Paradox transforms your perspective from the mundane to the miraculous. When you feel overwhelmed by the smallness of your daily problems, remember the silence. You are part of a rare, perhaps unique, pocket of consciousness in a vast desert of matter. Your ability to feel, to dream, and to rest is a treasure that the rest of the galaxy, in all its billion-year history, may not currently possess. You are the universe's way of listening to itself. By falling into sleep, you are not withdrawing from reality. You are tending to the only flame of awareness we know for certain exists. Consider the zoo hypothesis, the idea that advanced civilizations are out there, but they are intentionally leaving us alone, watching us from a distance as if we were a protected wilderness. This suggests that we are in a state of cosmic infancy. Just as a child needs sleep and a quiet nursery to grow, humanity needs its isolation to develop its own soul. Tonight you can grant yourself that same protection. You can turn off the signals of your day and retreat into your own private wilderness. You don't need to be part of a galactic federation tonight. You only need to be a quiet, breathing inhabitant of your own life. There is also the estivation hypothesis, which suggests that advanced civilizations are actually sleeping. They may have moved their consciousness into digital forms and are waiting for the universe to cool down so they can process information more efficiently. In this view, sleep is the ultimate destination of intelligence. To rest is to move toward the highest state of being. By closing your eyes, you are joining the great sleepers of the cosmos. You are participating in a tradition that may be shared by the most advanced minds in the universe, the tradition of waiting, dreaming, and preserving energy. Take a slow, deep breath and feel the weight of the silence. It is not a lonely silence, it is a reverent one. Imagine the galaxy as a vast library at night, the books closed, the lights dimmed. You are a single candle burning in one of the far-off aisles. You don't need to light up the whole building. You only need to provide enough light for your own peace. The silence of the other aisles, the other stars, is not a rejection. It is just the way the library is built. As you move toward the final stages of this journey, let the Fermi Paradox quiet the chatter of your ego. The need to be noticed, the fear of being forgotten, and the struggle for status are all silenced by the scale of the Milky Way. In the grand, silent theater of the stars, you are a master of your own internal world. Whether there are billions of others out there or whether we are truly alone, the quality of your rest remains your most sacred responsibility. The paradox of the silence is solved by the realization that we are the ones who must speak for the universe. We have seen time stretch, history loop, reality blur, fate lock, information transform, light shatter, the sky provide shade, the self dissolve, and the mind flicker in the void. Now we have seen the stars remain silent so that we might hear our own hearts. But what if the stage itself, the stars, the silence, the space is not what it seems? What if the where is everybody question is flawed because we are looking at a screen rather than a world? We move now to our final destination, the theory that ties every paradox together into a single shimmering truth. We move from the silence of the galaxy to the surface of the universe. We move toward the holographic principle and the final reset. We prepare to ask, is the world a three-dimensional reality, or is it a beautiful, flat projection of information? Stay in this silent, cosmic state of grace, for we are about to see that the universe is not just something you inhabit, but something that is being written upon the very horizon of space. As the silence of the Fermi Paradox settles into the very marrow of your bones, we reach the final destination of our long journey. We have traveled from the dilation of time to the loops of history, from the blur of the quantum cat to the spooky threads of entanglement. We have faced the calculating demon, the devouring black hole, and the spontaneous mind flickering in the void. Now, we must gather these fragments of mystery and look at the final architecture that may hold them all. We move toward the holographic principle, the ultimate cognitive reset. In the quiet of this final hour, as the boundary between your waking mind and the world of dreams begins to dissolve entirely, consider the possibility that everything you have ever seen, touched, or felt is a beautiful three-dimensional illusion. The holographic principle is a theory born from the heart of the black hole information paradox we explored earlier. It suggests that all the information contained within a volume of space, the stars, the planets, the trees, and even your own body can be perfectly described by the data encoded on the two-dimensional boundary surrounding that space. Imagine a common credit card. On its surface is a small, flat silver sticker. When you tilt it in the light, a three-dimensional image appears to hover within the plastic. The image has depth, shape, and detail, but its source is a flat, two-dimensional pattern of interference. Some of the most brilliant physicists of our time, from Leonard Susskind to Gerard de Hooft, believe the entire universe operates on this exact same principle. This means that the depth of the world is a projection. The three dimensions we move through every day, up and down, left and right, forward and back, might be a secondary phenomenon, a holographic projection of information that exists on a distant, flat horizon at the very edge of the cosmos. As you lie there, let this realization perform the final total reset of your consciousness. If the world is a projection, then the weight of your physical reality is infinitely lighter than you ever imagined. The stresses that feel so solid, the walls that feel so high, and the burdens that feel so heavy are all part of the hologram. They are light and information shimmering into a temporary form. By contemplating the holographic nature of reality, you are allowed to let go of the solidity of your problems. We often feel trapped by our circumstances, as if we are locked in a room of cold, hard stone. But if the room is a projection, then the stone is not truly hard, and the locks are not truly solid. You are a participant in a grand cosmic cinema. The movie may be intense, the drama may be profound, but the screen itself remains untouched and unharmed. You are the light that creates the image, not the image itself. In this state of holographic grace, you are indestructible. This perspective brings a profound sense of unity to our 3-hour journey. If we are all projections from the same distant horizon, then the entanglement we spoke of is not spooky at all. It is inevitable. We are connected because we share a source. The loops of time and the shattering of light are just different ways the information is being processed on the boundary. When you close your eyes tonight, you are not leaving the world. You are simply shifting your focus from the projection back to the source. You are returning your attention to the pure information of the horizon, where everything is still, ordered, and eternal. Consider the pixels of the universe once more. In a holographic world, there is a limit to how much detail can exist. Just as a digital photograph becomes grainy if you zoom in too far, space-time itself has a grain. This graininess is the ultimate proof that the universe is structured for peace. It cannot hold an infinite amount of noise. It has a maximum capacity for complexity. By sleeping, you are clearing the buffer of your own holographic experience. You are allowing the grain to smooth out, letting the high-resolution static of the day fade into a low-resolution, soft-focused tranquility. Imagine the universe now as a vast, shimmering sphere. You are at the center, but your essence is written on the shell of that sphere, in a language of pure light and mathematics. From that distant horizon, your life is a perfect, finished masterpiece. The time it takes for that information to project into your current moment is just a feature of the play. On the boundary, there is no past and no future. There is only the totality of the information. You are already complete. You are already at rest. You are already exactly where you need to be. This is the final reset. You are letting go of the three-dimensional struggle. You are releasing the need to navigate, to build, to sort, and to defend. You are allowing yourself to be what you have always been, a localized expression of a universal truth. The you that was tired is just a character in the projection. The you that is written on the horizon is vibrant, silent, and at peace. Take a slow, deep breath and feel the depth of your room begin to soften. The walls are not boundaries, they are just light. The ceiling is not a weight, it is just a pattern. Your body is not a cage, it is a shimmering, holographic vessel. As you exhale, imagine the projection slowly dimming. The colors are fading into soft grays and deep blues. The sounds are receding into a gentle, rhythmic hum, the background radiation of the cosmic screen. We have untied the knots of time and identity. We have stared into the void and found it full of potential. We have questioned the silence of the stars and found our own voice. Now, in the final moments of this journey, we find the ultimate comfort. The universe is light, and you are part of that light. The paradoxes have done their work. They have exhausted the analytical brain, leaving behind a clear, open space for the subconscious to inhabit. The long-form script of your waking day has reached its conclusion. The 15 segments of our exploration have merged into a single, unified state of being. You are no longer a student of physics or a seeker of truth. You are the truth itself, resting in the heart of its own mystery. The hologram is steady, the information is safe, and the screen is quiet. As we end our 3-hour descent, let the words fade away until only the rhythm remains. The cognitive reset is complete. Your mind is a blank slate, your body is a vessel of light, and your spirit is home. Sleep now in the beautiful, flat, infinite peace of the holographic horizon. The stars are watching, the laws are holding, and the paradox is finally at rest.